Welcome back to Clash of Clans All-Stars. This is Tom Maryland. Going to be looking at Town Hall 8 today. Going to be looking at an updated guide for dragon attacks. I haven't been really looking in depth at dragon attacks for even a couple of years now, but most of the basics are still the same. There are a couple of new additions and updates to the game that have actually made dragon attacks easier. So we're going to take a look at those today and kind of walk through the basics of what you need to know when you're attacking with dragons at Town Hall 8. Now, one of the cool things about Town Hall 8 as you're learning is the fact that two major attacks, the Go-Ho as well as the Mass Dragon, can take out pretty much any base design that you can come up with for that Town Hall. There simply isn't enough damage from the defenses, not enough buildings available to make a proper defense. In fact, when it comes to competitive Town Hall 8 play, which does exist, they restrict you to a certain amount of dragons and a certain amount of hogs to make it fair so that not every single war ends up as a tie. So since we don't do competitive Town Hall 8 play like that, we are going to use every advantage that we can get, and it actually makes the attacks pretty easy. So I'm going to go through the army, what you look for in a base, how you approach it, and hopefully it'll help everybody get their dragon attacks to a polished level. And again, both attacks, the dragons or the Go-Ho, should be able to take out just about any base. So if you do it right, you can do it. I personally prefer the Go-Ho to the dragons. It's a little bit more consistent, especially in war when every attack counts. I think that the Go-Ho is a little bit more of a surefire 3-star, where with the dragon attack something can go wrong. Even though a base can be 3-starred, your dragons can split off in the wrong way or something, and it can not work out the way you want it to. So first of all, take a look at the army composition. We're looking at 10 dragons, CC balloons, and then the spells are 2 lightnings, a rage, a poison in the clan, or a poison, and then a haste in the clan castle. Some people will say to bring a couple of balloons of your own. I strongly disagree with this unless there's a very specific goal that those balloons are going to be servicing. It's not necessary. The balloons at Town Hall 8 simply aren't strong enough to make it worth losing out on a dragon. So the 10 dragons is perfect. The 2 lightning spells is one of the things that changed from a couple of years back. The lightning spell has been buffed, so it no longer requires 2 lightnings and a quake to drop an air defense. So you can just take the 2 lightnings. That frees you up for a poison, which I'm not really used to. I haven't been doing the Town Hall 8 dragon attacks in quite a while, so as you can probably see in these first couple of attacks, I completely missed, or I just forgot to use the poison, but it didn't matter. So what you're going to look for in a base when you look at the base for the first time is you're going to look at the sweeper and the 3 air defenses. Pretty much anything else on the base is inconsequential. Usually, you do have to make sure that you pull the clan castle troops with the dragons. So if the clan castle was way over here, for example, way on the outside of the base, that would kind of change things. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to find the clan castle in the center, and that's perfect for this attack. So you're going to take a look at the sweeper position and the air defense position, and you're going to rank the air defenses based on how difficult they are to take out. So if you look at the sweeper on this base, you can see that it's pointed to the north, and that makes this air defense by far the most difficult out of the 3 to take out. You're always going to zap the most difficult one. So right off the bat, that one's going to be gone with the lightning spells. We don't even have to worry about it. And then you're going to look at the 2 remaining ones and decide which one the dragons are going to go after and which one the loons are going to go after. Usually, again, 9 times out of 10, you'll want to go in opposite the sweeper with the dragons. So that means this side here is your entry point with the dragons, and they're going to attack that air defense, which means that this air defense is the responsibility of the balloons. So that means that you're going to, instead of dropping the clan castle balloons right behind your dragons, you're actually going to save them for the back end and then drop them over here to hopefully get that air defense. So essentially you're looking at the base choosing which one's the hardest AD, killing that one, and then choosing the other two, one of them with dragons, one of them with balloons. And this is how you'll approach every single base. So now that you've decided which AD you're going to go after with your dragons, let's talk about how to do that. The first thing to do is to make a funnel, and I'll go ahead and play this so you can see the funnel that I made. 2 dragons, 1 on each corner. Again, this is going to be every base that you do, 1 dragon in each corner, and that's going to fill out these buildings, these trash buildings on the edge. The issue you run into if you don't do this is that the buildings on the outside are typically a lot lighter. They're a lot less hit points. So you're going to fan your dragons out along the edges. What you want to do instead is kill those corner buildings and then push the dragons so as they kill these little trash buildings here, they converge in the center in a more cohesive line. What you want them to do in the end is walk all the way through the base in a line. If you can make them do that, that would be awesome. However, you can't, because if you don't funnel them like this, then the ones on the flanks will push up too far and the ones in the center won't have enough support to push all the way through. So that's why you have to drop the corner ones, and then ideally they will move in to support, like this one did up here, those other dragons. So now they're all down, and then you've got to figure out when you're going to use your rage. Essentially, I try to get the clan castle troops and the enemy clan castle troops and the AD under the same rage, but the AD is definitely the most important part. And you also want to see the largest concentration of dragons get hit with your rage as possible, because you only have 1 and it's important that they do as much damage as they can. So we're going to take a look here. Go faster a little bit because I'm lazy. Okay, that rage there is going to help these guys get into this air defense because that's their job. There was enough, and like I said, I like to have them both under the rage, but there was enough dragons over here to deal with those 2 baby dragons without a problem, even without the rage. So they went ahead and did that. It would have been much easier if I would have remembered to use the poison spell, but I didn't. But it didn't matter. So then, once that's taken care of, you usually want to wait until the dragons are in range or almost in range of this air defense. That way, the air defense doesn't nuke all of your balloons, which will result in it not getting taken out in the first place. So with the balloons, when you're deploying the balloons, you want to look at the pathing that they're going to take. And since balloons always only attack defenses, you can easily predict where they're going to path. So this particular entry, it looks like they're going to go from here to here to here. So it'll be a nice 3-hop to the air defense. Not ideal. You want something with 1 or 2 hops usually, but it should be fine. Again, there's a lot of flexibility in this attack, a lot of wiggle room. It's not too important that you get everything perfect. Usually you're going to roll through almost every base with this. So we'll take a look at how that went. You're going to haste it in. That's what the haste is for. And then we'll see they actually split off. A couple of them went to that cannon instead, and the air defense didn't get taken out. So that's certainly not ideal, but there's plenty of dragons left, and they end up taking care of the base without a problem. Now, after you've dropped your haste and your balloons, you're pretty much done with the attack. So at that point, you can look at what needs to be cleaned up the most, or if you think you're going to struggle with clearing the base, you can look at what the best place you can place your king to soak up a little bit of damage. So if you put your king in the range of a wizard tower, a couple archer towers, that will soak up the damage for your dragons so the dragons can live on to fight another day. Usually you're just going to use your king for to clean up the trash buildings. It's not necessary by any means. You're usually going to clear bases in 90 seconds, and the cleanup troops are just icing on the cake. But when you want that extra wiggle room, when something goes wrong and you want to still be able to clear it, you do want to have that as an option. So there's been times where I've dropped a king at the very end and had 1 dragon to kill that last archer tower, and if the king wouldn't have been there, it wouldn't have worked. So it definitely does help. So we're going to take a look at another example here. That's the one we just watched, so let's go back and take a look at this one. This base is a little bit different, still very in the realm of what you'll see during normal wars. It's not a square base, it's a round base, and one of the biggest things is you always enter on a side, never on a corner. But since this isn't really a square base, you can enter pretty much anywhere as long as you make a corner. So when you go ahead and do, actually, I'll go into that in a second. First, we're going to rank these air defenses. So 3 air defenses and the sweeper. The sweeper is pointing to the northwest, which makes this guy the hardest air defense to get to. If we tried to dump dragons to it, it would hit the sweeper. If you tried to put balloons, they would hit the sweeper. It's just not a fun thing to do. So we're definitely going to take that out with the zap. And then we have these 2 guys that are going to take out, or we're going to take out with the dragons and the balloons. So I chose to go in this way. It's kind of arbitrary, either one would have worked, but I liked the funneling options with this. It made it look like a nice little corner there, so I decided to go in from the bottom, which means this is going to be taken out by the balloons. Now, this is a tricky path, and I didn't really like it, but again, you can kind of fudge your way through some of these portions of the attack as long as the rest of the attack works well. Because if you drop the balloons here on this cannon, you're going from here to here to here to here, assuming that the dragons take this out in advance. So that's a 4 hop going to that air defense. That's definitely not something you want. So that's the best option, but it's certainly not, an ideal option. So I almost would, if this is a war situation, recommend someone take this base with hogs instead, because it is a little bit of a risky play taking it with dragons. Certainly doable, because every base is doable, but when the stakes are high, you want the attack that's not going to go wrong. So we'll take a look at how we did the funnel. Again, hitting the corners with the dragons, and those are my corners because this ends up being the front of the side that we're attacking on. So essentially, the goal is that, again, they move straight through in one big line. So usually you should just zap ahead of time. I forgot, but I fixed it there. So there goes the rage, and again, I forgot my poison spell, but the dragon goes down quick anyway. So then those dragons are just getting eaten alive by that air defense, but eventually the balloons made it through. There's still 5 or 6 dragons up, as well as some balloons. Now this is one of those circumstances where, like I said before, things don't always go right, so you want the biggest advantage that you can get. So I see this, as I'm watching the attack, I see this archer tower just kind of lonely sitting here by itself, and I see that this dragon is about to get in range and it's almost dead. So I dropped the king to soak up the damage from that archer tower. There's really no... oh, it got hit with a bomb anyway. But there was really no ground defense there, so it's not going to get eaten up by cannons. It just gets eaten up by that archer tower, and that, if it wasn't for that bomb, would have saved that dragon and made the attack a lot easier. Now, since we still had a bunch of dragons up, there was still no problem clearing the base, and it was still a successful attack, but with that second air defense being a little bit wonky, it wasn't the perfect situation. So we'll look at another example here. Now this one's a little weird because you have 3 air defenses all on the opposite side. If you're going to go in opposite the sweeper, you'd want to go in on this side over here on the 4 o'clock side, but you don't want to do that because then you're pushing through all of these buildings before you even get to the air defenses. So I decided to go in on the 7 o'clock side over here and then evaluate the air defenses. Now at that point, if I'm going in this direction, this one is the hardest one to get to, even though it's only 3 hops away, 1, 2, 3, to the air defense. It's against the sweeper, so those balloons will never make it. So that one's getting zapped. And then it's a matter of between this one and this one for which is the easiest to take out with the dragons and which one for the balloons. So we're going to take a look at what happened here. Again, corner buildings to funnel. I did use the poison this time, which was nice. And then the clan castle troops, the clan castle was not in the center here, it was on the edge, so that got pulled right away. So you have to be aware of where the clan castle is so you know when to expect that poison. So the rage going in. I actually decided to do the clan castle, my clan castle troops, directly behind the dragons to push ahead and go into both of the air defenses. Since they are so close, I could make use of the rage and the haste to get those dragons in there. And that helped out getting both air defenses taken out quickly since I had all that extra spell speed. And then at this point it's just cleanup. There's really nothing else that can harm the dragons, so I went ahead and I actually looked up here on top, but I saw that there was no air targeting defenses, so I knew that this dragon here would be fine, so I put the king down here to help push these other dragons along. I'll just speed that up. So it's a fairly easy attack to do overall. You just have to know what to look out for and what to plan for when you're planning the hit. Let's take a look and see what this one was. Now this is essentially the perfect base for dragons. This gives you 3 air defenses that you can perfectly and easily plan, and I'll explain why right now. The sweeper is heading to the west there, which makes this one, since it's pointing into the sweeper, as well as right in the core, that one's an easy choice for the zap. And then the dragons are going to be coming in on this wall up here because it's away from the sweeper and it's going to hit this air defense quickly. So the dragons are going to take care of that air defense. This air defense actually is only 0 hops away from the wall. So you can drop a clan castle right here and those balloons are going to go right into that air defense. So there's no chance that they're not going to make it there. Actually, speaking of which, that is one other thing that has been changed since a couple of years ago when this attack was most heavily used by our clan. The new levels of balloons have made this attack even easier because the balloons are much tankier now. They can survive a lot more hits from Town Hall 8's defenses since they're designed for Town Hall 12 defenses. So they will last a lot longer than they used to, and it makes the job of getting them to where they need to be to accomplish their goal a lot easier. So again, 2 dragons on the corner. Go a little fast, and the video is getting a little bit long. Got the poison on the clan castle. Rage for the AD. Now, usually I would wait until the dragons are right in range of the air defense, but I think I dropped it a little bit early this time because I knew there's no way they weren't going to make it, and I wanted to get as much value for it as I could, clear out some of those defenses so I could lose as few dragons as possible. And I think I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dragons up, so that attack was just a slaughter. And when you're looking at war bases in just normal farm wars that we do, that's what you're going to see most often. I mean, this attack only lasted 90 seconds, so it was really a beefy attack. Now this one is a little bit different, and this is the only time I would recommend not using the zap. If you're looking at a base and the air defenses are very, very close together, if they're very close together and it doesn't really make sense to zap one because the other one is going to be right there anyway, you can actually use 3 rages instead of the zap. So looking at the sweeper, it's way over there. So really, as long as we come in on either this edge over here or this edge over here, it's going to be a successful attack. And again, the air defense here is right on the edge, so we can push straight through the base. See how this worked out with the 3 rages. I actually brought a Clan Castle Freeze, which is another thing that's new that you can use at Town Hall 8 now, because they dropped it down to 1 spell space. So you can freeze those air defenses in the core and make it even easier. So got the poison on that dragon. Rages all the way through the base. Pretty much keeps the dragon's rage almost the whole attack, and by the time the dragons lose their rage, there's only 3 defenses that can even target them. So the 3 rages is a lot faster of an attack since you're doing so much more damage per second overall. So I think this attack only lasted, let's see, well, that was still 90 seconds, but it's a much faster feeling attack because you're just blowing through that core so quickly. I don't like it normally because there's a good chance that if you don't clear out one of those air defenses and then have those specific rolls for each thing to say this guy is going to get this defense, this guy's going to get that defense, that's what you want to look at. If you're just winging it and throwing the 3 rages down, there's a good chance that one of those gets missed, and if that gets missed and your dragons path around it, then it'll just pick them off while the dragons are targeting trash buildings or storages, and you're going to fail. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, hit me up on Discord, but that should give you an idea of how to most effectively use dragons at Town Hall 8, and I look forward to chatting again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.